Today's episode was sponsored by Incogni.
Hey guys, Willie here. And today I thought I'd start things off by telling you the story of how I lost my first tooth. The year was 1924 and I was in France competing at the first ever Winter Olympic Games. Calvin Coolidge had
Hey Mom, it's Willie. It happened again. I tried to take your advice and not make eye contact, but that just seemed to make him madder. He chased me down the street with a carton of eggs and beat me in the stomach while I was trying to jump a fence. Kid's got a hell of an arm for a 6-year-old. Anyway, long story short, I ripped my pants. If you could come pick me up, I'm hiding in the bushes on 34th and Walnut, and please hurry. The yolks are starting to attract flies.
It's actually my ringtone. Alright, so if you guys have seen my videos, then you probably already know that I'm not great with technology under normal circumstances, and well, you heard what happened. It was very stressful. I could hear Billy's training wheels getting closer and closer, and I wanted to call for help, but I guess in my panic, I hit a wrong button or something because I ended up recording a new ringtone instead. I have no idea what I did, and I have no idea how to change it, so now whenever I get a phone call, everyone within earshot gets to hear a recording of me at my lowest. Well, one of my lowest. Billy's been picking on me a lot recently. Hopefully he never hears that recording or he'll have a field day. At least I didn't cry this time. I can't risk the embarrassment that would come from me getting an unexpected phone call. And that's why I use Incogni. At this point, like half the time my phone rings, it's a robocall. And the reason that robocalls happen is data brokers. If you've ever given out your information online, there's a good chance that a data broker has taken it and sold it to a bunch of companies who use it to contact you, even when you wish that they wouldn't. Data brokers are required to remove you from their lists if you ask them to, but unfortunately there are so many of them and they can be so hard to contact that can be very difficult to do on your own. And that's where Incogni comes in. With Incogni, all you have to do is tell them a little bit about yourself and sit back while they do the rest. I've done it myself, and it really is that simple. Right now, Incogni is offering my viewers 60% off on an annual plan. So follow the link below and use code WillieMuse to start taking back your personal data today. So thank you so much to Incogni for sponsoring this video, and with that, let's get on with it.
Hey Mom, it's Willie. It happened again.
Ooh, my
Thai
food's
your
here.
advice and not make eye.
A while back, I made a video on a movie called The Unbreakable Boy, and I said that if it got more likes than average, I would make a part 2. And it did. So I am. Not everything I do has an interesting story behind it. So yeah, this is a part 2, but I don't think you'll need to have seen part 1 for this to make sense. If anything, this one might help make more sense out of part 1. In part 1, I didn't really go into the plot all that much. I started to, but then I kind of just ranted for 40 minutes about how the main couple should break up, which I contend was the right thing to do. This video will probably be a little more in-depth, although I make no guarantees that it won't also devolve into a rant, because this movie does bring out my angry side. Still, I like to make sure that all of my videos stand on their own, so here's everything that you need to know. This is Scott. Scott sucks. This is Teresa. She needs therapy. This is Joe. He's Scott's imaginary best friend who may or may not be God. The jury's still out on that one. Scott did premarital sex with Teresa after 3 dates and got her pregnant with his sperms. So now they've decided to move into the same apartment and raise their baby together. And yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know. I'll jump back in on the part where Scott tells his parents.
This is so stupid. I mean, honestly, you wouldn't have got some girl pregnant. Did you ever think about getting married first? Did you ever think about that? Nobody does that anymore, do they? No. Obviously, I'm a huge failure. I tried.
Give her a minute.
I tried.
You know, the warden, she processes through destruction.
Seriously, I didn't raise you this way. How can you be so stupid? I don't even know why you bothered to come in town.
Yeah.
You didn't listen to me all these years, and now you're
Proud of you.
For fucking?
Stepping up, facing consequences, that's what a man does. That's what a dad does.
Yes, good. That's a great attitude to have going into this. When you start a family, you want to make sure you view it as an obligation first and foremost. Also, this scene is very funny to me because the movie spans like a decade and a half, but the actors don't really age up or down at all, which makes these earlier scenes feel a little bit off. Zachary Levi is comfortably in his 40s right now, so it feels weird to see his parents treat him like a 20-year-old. The mom talks about how they raised him better than this, and the dad commends him for stepping up, but sorry. He feels too old for them to care about either of those things anymore. Really, I think the only thing they should be saying right now is like, you're old enough to make your own decisions. Just know that if you want kids, you're probably not going to get many chances after this. Also, shouldn't he have brought the mother of his unborn child with him to tell his parents? I get that 3 dates is a little early to meet the parents, but it's also a little early to have a baby, so I feel like the rules are kind of out the window. Genuinely, I think the movie's explanation for why he didn't is that they don't know each other very well yet, because they certainly don't feel close. This right here is the first time we see them interact after she tells him she's pregnant.
So, we're really doing this?
I think we're doing this.
And obviously that question was meant to be rhetorical, but it does seem to suggest that they maybe could have thought this through a little bit more before taking the plunge. Based on their first night together, there's at least one discussion they should have had first.
So, there is something that I haven't told you yet.
That's a terrifying way to start our first night together.
There won't be many times in this video where I'm going to be on Scott's side, but I actually do agree with him on this. If you're going to drop a major bomb on someone, I think you should do it either before you move in with them or after the boxes are unpacked.
No, it's just, a side effect of my amazing blue eyes. I have a condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, OI.
Which means?
My bones are really brittle. They break easily. I mean, I'm just type 1. It's not nearly as bad as some people, and I've learned how to manage it. You know, I just can't do a lot of things like sports and skydiving.
Okay. No skydiving. I can live with that.
Yeah, I just thought you should know, because it's genetic.
That does feel like an important piece of information to leave out. I looked it up, and for those curious, there's a 50% chance of passing it down. A lot of the resources I found suggested people with OI seek genetic counseling before deciding to have a child, so yeah, a brief conversation in the kitchen while your video game is paused seems a little too casual for this one. Which, speaking of, I talked a lot in my last video about how it frequently felt like we're not getting the full story here. And rewatching this scene, it does feel like there's something fishy going on with this pregnancy. Obviously, accidents do happen, but that said, it feels statistically unlikely that they conceive after 3 dates if each party involved is using an effective form of birth control. And given her condition, you'd think she'd be very careful about that. From what I read, OI does not make pregnancy easy on the mother. Were I to write this script, I'd include a line of him saying, "I'll understand, aren't you on the pill?" And then she could say, "I don't have easy access to the pill. We live in Iowa." Or, "I'm opposed to the pill because of my religion." Hell, you could even have her say, "I am, but it's not 100% effective." That's an explanation. I don't think it's the case, though, because if it were, there's not a chance in hell this movie wouldn't refer to it as a miracle at least 12 times. Maybe I'm just nosy, but I have questions here. So I'm going to do my best to answer them, and when I do that based on what the movie gives us, I come up with two possibilities. One, Scott told her he doesn't like the feel of condoms. Or two, Teresa got pregnant on purpose because she was divorced twice before this and she wants to lock Scott down. I don't feel good about saying that, but that's where my mind goes. I did not expect myself to say this, but there are parts of this movie that kind of reminded me of a film called Killing of the Sacred Deer. If you've never seen it, Barry Keoghan basically just sits down in one scene and says, "This is gonna happen," and then it's happened, and it's not really explained why. It kind of feels like someone filmed a plot outline rather than an actual script. And mine is Barry Keoghan. I hate that that's how you pronounce his last name. That's kind of what the Unbreakable Boy is like. They tell you, this is the way things are going to go down, and you kind of just have to accept that and sit back and go along for the ride in a way that feels very strange. But while the killing of a sacred deer is purposefully doing things this way to create a surreal tone, the Unbreakable Boy is super not. But the effect is almost the same. As with a lot of the Christian films I discuss, Unbreakable Boy is rooted in a perspective so different from my own that it almost starts to feel surreal. I think if you were to ask the filmmakers what forces are driving the plot forward, they would say something along the lines of, sometimes a man and a woman will come together and they'll make a baby and then they have to deal with that. And when I, as a heathen, see that point of view, I can't help but think, not necessarily. I said in my last video that I think this movie is deeply pro-life, but one thing I didn't mention is the fact that it's cowardly about it. I would respect this movie 1,000 times more if they included a part where Scott says, "Should we go through with it if he has this disease?" And then Teresa's like, "What if my parents had said that about me?" But they don't even acknowledge that there's an alternative. And as far as I'm concerned, the alternative is the thing they should have done. So that makes it hard for me to care too much about the plot, because every time something happens, my first thought is always kind of just, well, yeah, you shouldn't have put yourself in this position to begin with. A large part of this movie is about their love story, and I can't really take it seriously because these people shouldn't be together. I think the most romantic thing that happens between them after she gets pregnant is this little moment on the first night they move in together.
The sky is gray, and when you're feeling blue, don't forget that I will always be with you. I'll rub your back and sing our little favorite song. Don't forget that I will always be with you.
That's really sweet. Is that for our kid?
Yeah, maybe.
And even that's kind of iffy. She seems charmed by it, but I know that if I moved in with someone I didn't know very well and they spent the first night singing on the couch next to me while I tried to play video games, I would be very nervous about our future together. That is potentially some very annoying behavior. And it only gets worse. This is how he ends up proposing to her the first time.
Hey, I think we should get married.
No, not right now.
Why? Why not?
Because it's too soon.
But think I might love you.
You're telling me right now, as you propose, like this, that you might love me?
T, I'm just being honest, okay? This is where we're at. What do you want me to say?
Not that.
Well, do you love me?
No.
And in the movie's defense, it does know that this isn't very romantic, but it seems to think that it was romantic enough that they call it back when the couple does get married.
You know what I admire about you? You're not afraid to say sappy, sentimental stuff like that. I'm serious. I've never had that with anybody. It's so nice. And also, I lied before. I think I might love you too.
You know, and they say love is dead. We spend the whole movie waiting to see if they make it as a couple, but it's hard to care about their future when it's rooted in so many terrible decisions they made in their past. This entire time, all I could think whenever anything happened between them is that they should have just sucked it up years ago and gone their separate ways. And by it, I mean a plan B. And that's where movies like this gain the upper hand, because for me to suggest that they shouldn't have had their son that they love, it requires me to say, well, that they shouldn't have had their son that they love. And that's admittedly not a great look. And I want to say for the record that I don't believe that nobody should ever follow through on a pregnancy if they have osteogenesis imperfecta. But certainly these people shouldn't have. Like I said, something that popped up a lot when I was reading about the condition is genetic counseling. And yeah, that seems like it would have been a really good idea based on what we see in this movie. It seems like having a baby with this condition is extremely difficult. So in order to do it properly, it should be something you're ready for. Going into it on a whim with someone you barely know and hoping you'll just work everything out along the way does not feel like a good idea for anyone involved. And again, this is where things start to feel a little hinky, because now that the baby has been born, suggesting that he shouldn't have been is not something I'm gonna do. But if you were to ask me about it before, back when he was still just a hypothetical human, I think my answer would be pretty clear. And for the record, I'm not just saying that because having a baby together clearly ruined Scott and Teresa's life. If anything, I think it would be more for the baby's benefit. In my last video, I said that I skipped a lot of the movie because the plot is dumb and not worth getting into, and it is. But that's actually not the main reason I left so much stuff out. The main reason is that a lot of this film is extremely unpleasant to sit through. I'd say that a solid 80% of it is just watching a kid in pain. And when I got to that part of the story, I kind of thought, I don't want to talk about this. I doubt anyone watching this video wants to see it. I should just skip it. So I did. But then the video got a lot of likes, and I'm a content creature of my words, so here's Scott and Teresa meeting Austin for the first time.
Check it out, T. We made a boy. Look at him. He's perfect.
He is perfect.
I cried a lot right away. Partly because I was a baby, and partly because those metal things broke my ribs, but no one even knew. That was break number 1.
The montage of a baby wailing in pain that follows is deeply unpleasant, but what makes it a million times worse is the fact that the focus isn't really on the baby wailing in pain. The point of the scene is to show how sleep-deprived the parents get because of all the crying. The baby plays more of an antagonistic role than anything.
When do we sleep?
What have we done?
And really, that's the main criticism I have with Unbreakable Boy. Despite the fact that he is clearly the most interesting part of the story, the movie doesn't really seem to care about Austin as a person. We don't really get much insight into how he feels or what he's thinking. We only see the effect he has on the normal people around him. The movie definitely thinks that it's uplifting Austin by telling his story, but it ends up missing the point of that story so thoroughly that it ends up being worse representation than if they just never told any story at all. Like, it kind of feels like if you made a movie about Rosa Parks where the protagonist was the white guy driving the bus. It almost feels like it's going out of its way sometimes to ignore Austin's perspective, which is honestly kind of impressive when you consider that for all intents and purposes, it's from Austin's perspective. He's the narrator. He's the one telling this story, but though that story is full of many trials and tribulations for him, he tells it in such an overly joyful manner that it never really feels like he's affected by any of them. The next part of this movie jumps from Austin's birth to the present day by focusing on all the broken bones he gets along the way. And again, it's really unpleasant. I feel very bad for this kid.
Austin! He's good. He's good.
Oh my God, Scott!
Come on. Austin! Oh, baby.
And that was break number 13.
Again, though, I'm not sure that the movie really does. When Austin breaks his bones, the one we feel the most sympathy for is the dad, because he's the one who seems to bear the brunt of the consequences.
It's okay. You're gonna be okay, little dude. You're so strong. You're so strong. You're doing great. You're doing great, Oz, man. Help? Hello? Hi. Little help. Thank you.
Young Austin cries, sure, but then present day Austin cuts in, sounding like a smile, and it leaves you feeling like he didn't really care all that much about shattering his pelvis.
Go, dogs, go. Break number 3. After a while, the nurses started calling me a Gold Star member. How cool is that?
As the title suggests, the point of the movie is that despite his hard life, Austin can't be broken. So they end up making him so positive that it never feels like he has feelings. Still, at least the movie seems to remember that Austin exists. The same could not be said for Scott's other son, whose name I can't remember. I'm gonna go with Lucas.
Logan was lucky. His bones didn't break, and he barely ever cried at all. That's when Mom and Dad started to realize I was different.
It's hard to say how I feel about the movie's treatment of What's-His-Face, because on one hand, his father clearly likes him way more than Austin, but on the other, he doesn't pay him nearly as much attention. Lincoln doesn't really exist as his own character. Everything he does relates back to Austin in some way. Hell, even the scene that's about his birth is ultimately just there to move the story of Austin's autism forward.
Hey, he fell on the stairs. I'm very sorry.
Hey, buddy, you okay?
Ozman, hey, what do you think of your new little baby brother?
He's so sleepy, huh?
4 red, 5 blue.
Huh? 4 red, 5 blue?
The stripes. The blanket. It's 4 red, 5 blue.
And that seems to be the reason they included this character in the movie. I mean, the reason they included this character is because Scott and Teresa actually do have another son in real life, but from a narrative perspective, the character seems to only exist to provide a counter to Austin. He almost feels like the control group, His main purpose is to show you what Austin could have been if he didn't have autism and osteogenesis imperfecta. He's the simple child that Scott dreamed of when he dreamed of becoming a father. There's a scene where this kid pushes his dad on the swing. And I feel like that tells you everything you need to know about their dynamic. I know I already talked about it a lot in the last video I made about this, but I'm still not fully over it.
Logan, you're getting so strong, dude. You're pushing so high now.
Push me higher, okay?
Not too high, though, please.
It kind of feels like Scott's thoughts on him are like, thank God, finally a normal one I don't have to worry about. And he takes not having to worry about him and really runs with it. Watching LeBron was one of many times that I wondered how self-aware this movie is. From what I understand, it's often the case that siblings of special needs kids are made to step up and step back in ways that they probably wouldn't have to if circumstances were different. So the way the movie portrays this kid feels like it's probably pretty accurate, but I can never tell if it realizes that that's a bad thing. My hunch is that it doesn't, but even if it does, it never really explores that aspect of their families. So either way, the inclusion of this character makes me dislike Scott way more than I already did. I didn't think that was possible, but here we are. Because if he doesn't realize that his kid is being overlooked, then he's kind of a bad dad. But if he does and ignores it, then, well, he's kind of a bad dad. Either way you slice it, this character isn't a great dad. I can think of 2 reasons why the people making this might leave this character so underdeveloped, but neither one feels legitimate in the context of this movie. The first is that they didn't want to speak for the kid, which, if that's the case, then this movie just flat out shouldn't exist because it's basically just them doing that for Austin. The second is that they didn't want to go too deep into his feelings because this is Austin's story. But if that's the case, then why the fuck do we get so much insight into the dad? I've gone back and forth on how I feel about how much of this story is about Scott because, well, it's clearly meant to be Austin's story. Scott is Austin's dad, so Austin's story is his story. And who am I to say that he shouldn't tell his story? That said, though, I have to imagine that Larson is going through a lot of the same stuff that Scott is, so the fact that Scott seems content to largely ignore that is really shitty because he's his dad too. Larson's story should be as much a part of Scott's story as Austin's, but it's not. If Larry really does represent the version of Parenthood Scott dreamed of, then it kind of seems like he thought being a dad would mostly involve ignoring the kid while he went off and played golf. And again, that's why I'm not really sure how to feel about the way he's treated. He comes across as though his dad thinks he's perfect, but in a way that makes me feel kind of bad for the kid. And I get it. Lamont seems like a great kid. He seems kind and responsible and extremely self-reliant. Any parent would be lucky to have him as their child. You'd think there would be some acknowledgement of that, though. At some point, this movie should explicitly recognize how impressive it is that he's been able to step up the way he has. But if anything, it feels like the opposite is true. The movie kind of just takes the way he is as a given and uses it to show all the ways Austin could be better. They say flat out that having a baby brother is what makes the parents realize that Austin is different, which feels weird because I'd say there were other signs.
Hey, Austin. Austin, hey, buddy, shoes on. Right now. Dad's late for work. What are you doing? Hey, whoa, 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 what are you doing? Why are you making a mess? Hey. Austin, what are you doing? Don't start again. I need you to put your shoes on. Now. Austin.
They don't figure out that it's autism until they get him properly tested, though. Until then, they mostly focus on the way Scott has trouble connecting with him. And this might sound weird, but I'm very curious to see the version of this movie where the family is never given that word to describe their son, because I feel like it's really different. This movie seems to get away with a lot more than it should because it has a medical term it can point to. Because I'll be honest, I'm not sure that everything this movie attributes to autism is actually autism. By the end of the film, it feels like that word is less an actual diagnosis and more a catch-all meant to describe all the ways that Scott has trouble understanding his son. This is the scene right before they get him diagnosed.
Look, Dad, it's a dragon! It's a dragon! Isn't he awesome?
I'm just saying I'm worried about him, babe. He won't stop counting. He talks constantly. He gets lost in these fantasies, and when I try to connect with him, he just melts down for no reason.
And I understand that autism manifests in a million different ways, but I didn't realize that hallucinating dragons was one of them. I think the movie would probably say that Austin isn't literally seeing dragons. Actually, would it? The way that they shot that scene makes it seem like he really is convinced that that kite is a dragon. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I think the movie would probably say that Austin isn't literally seeing dragons. The point of this scene is to show how he views the world differently from his dad. But if that's the case, then nothing that happens here feels all that out of the ordinary for a kid his age. Granted, my experience with kids this age is admittedly fairly limited, but I feel like even I've been in a situation where one of them will point to something and be like, "Look, it's a clown!" And in my head, I'll be like, "What the fuck are you talking about, you little freak? That's a streetlight." Of course, I wouldn't say that out loud. I'd probably do a quick scan for clowns just to be safe, and then when it was clear that none of them were actually there, I think I'd say something like, "Oh, wow, I see it too." And if I did turn to the child and say, "What the fuck are you talking about, you little freak? That's a street lamp," I wouldn't be surprised if they reacted similarly to how Austin reacts here.
Hey, little dude, Austin. I'm sorry, I just don't see what you see all the time.
This scene is so much more dramatic than it needs to be. The way they're acting, you'd think that Kite Dragon just ate the rest of their family.
Hey, Austin.
This is just not what I thought he was gonna be like, you know?
It's okay.
I feel like I'm failing every day, and the harder I try, the worse I do. I can't seem to figure him out.
Just learn to play along with your kid, asshole. Also, just to remind everybody, Scott has an imaginary friend who is a major character in this movie. His name is Joe, and I'm still not entirely sure if he's supposed to be God or not. And this is all just a long way of saying that, like most things in this movie, this feels like Scott's problem more than Austin's. For as much as he clearly hates his son's autism, he does seem to benefit from it an awful lot. He uses it kind of like a get-out-of-jail-free card for parenting. Like I said, this scene leads directly into the scene of Austin getting diagnosed, and the clear implication is that whatever the fuck that just was is a manifestation of his autism. And again, it might be. I don't know. I'm not the kid's doctor, but what I do know is that there are a million other reasons that a child might point to a kite he's flying and say, "Look, Daddy, a dragon." So the fact that they've seemingly wrapped this up in a nice little autism bow feels a little too convenient for me. Like, I feel like Scott's point of view is best illustrated by this moment when he's so distraught by his son's autism diagnosis that he goes to a bar and gets drunk with his imaginary friend. That is actually a thing that happens in this movie.
I need some air.
All those times I yelled at him, got so frustrated, made him feel stupid just for being who he is.
You didn't know.
And it's like, okay, so if he wasn't autistic, would yelling at him and making him feel stupid be okay? Anything the boy does that deviates from the dream child Scott had in his head is pinned on the diagnosis, but it's not really how it works. Autism isn't this cordyceps that burrows into your brain and starts controlling you from the inside. More than anything, it's just a word that describes how certain people function. Getting your child diagnosed is a good way to better understand them, but if you're having trouble relating to your son, you're having trouble relating to your son. The fact that he's autistic doesn't make that any better or worse. If I were to show you one snippet of dialogue that best sums up what this movie is like, it would probably be this bit that's used to introduce that little dragon moment I talked about.
Sometimes I feel like my dad is close and far away at the same time.
1, 2, 3, go!
Woohoo! Like, even though I'm right there, he doesn't really see me.
There are times when it's really hard to ignore the fact that everything we see in this movie traces back to a book that was written by the real Scott. Like I'm not gonna lie, if my dad wrote a book and he had the Willie characters say, "Sometimes I worry my dad thinks I'm a total piece of shit," it would sting. I might start to suspect that maybe my dad doesn't have as positive an opinion of me as I'd like. For those keeping track, that was Austin giving his perspective in a movie based on a book that's from Scott's perspective about how difficult autism is for him because it's difficult on Scott. It feels like toxic parenting inception. Austin seems perfectly fine being who he is. The only problems he seems to have are the problems that other people have. Scott has created this scenario where he has the horrible burden of dealing with a son who has this horrible burden of being a horrible burden on Scott. It very much feels sometimes like Scott needs to paint autism as this horrible affliction he can blame for all the ways he has trouble connecting with his son, because that's a lot easier than blaming himself. And yeah, like I said, this is when they get Austin diagnosed.
Autistic? I mean, how is this possible? We would have known.
Girl.
9, 10, 11.
Also, why does that doctor's office have like 100 copies of every single car? It kind of seems like they're giving the kids there the tools they need to make themselves look as autistic as possible.
Autism presents itself in many different ways. It's a spectrum. Some are more verbal than others, and some don't show signs as early.
And what do we do now? I mean, what are we supposed to do now? Is he going to grow out of this? Is there some kind of medication he can take?
Looks like he's already on SSRIs for OCD, various other things. We can experiment with additional medication, but no, don't expect him to grow out of it.
I'll admit, I'm probably being a little harsh on him for the purposes of this video. I'm sure hearing your kid get diagnosed with anything is going to be scary, and he clearly doesn't know much about autism, so it seems natural that his first instinct would be to try and fix it. But that said, I still don't fully get what he wants to fix. Gun to my head, I couldn't even tell you why they brought him in to get tested. The reasons the movie gives are the dragon thing, which, again, not sure what that was about, and the way he was organizing those toys. And that one does feel like a pretty dead giveaway, but apparently he's already been diagnosed with OCD, which sort of suggests that they already looked into that one. The way Scott was talking about it, it kind of just seems like he thinks the vibes are off.
This is just not what I thought he was gonna be like, you know? I feel like I'm failing every day, and the harder I try, the worse I do. I can't seem to figure him out.
Maybe you're not supposed to.
Come on, T. Something is not right. You gonna tell me you're not worried?
And honestly, I don't even think that's the worst reason a parent could give for why they took their kid to the doctor. If something feels off, go with your gut. But eventually, you gotta get to a more concrete place than that. There are plenty of legitimate reasons a parent could be worried about an autism diagnosis, but the movie never really gives any specifics. As best as I can tell, Scott is upset that Austin has autism because it's autism. The movie never really goes into why autism makes Austin's life more difficult. Honestly, if I watched this movie without knowing anything about it, I'm not sure I'd come away from it knowing what autism was. It kind of just makes it seem like something that makes people wear hats. There's something amorphous about the diagnosis. It's everything and nothing all at once, and I kind of think that's intentional. The story relies on the idea that autism is a parent's worst nightmare, so it makes sense that they do what they could to keep it vague. Every movie needs a good monster, but the second you actually get a look at that monster's face, it suddenly becomes a lot less scary. I spent a lot of time trying to think of a way to smoothly transition into the next part of the story, but I couldn't really do that because the movie doesn't really smoothly transition into the next part of the story. There's no real flow to the plot of this. It's kind of just a list of things that happened. So yeah, we fast forward 8 years to the first day of 8th grade.
You're gonna love middle school, Logan. The hallways are so big, the teachers are the bomb, and all the food is a la carte.
We're about 40 minutes into this movie, and I'd say that this is where it actually starts. It's the first scene that's not a flashback. Actually, I guess that's not true. It is still kind of a flashback, but I don't know. The structure of this movie is really weird. It starts in the future and then it flashes back to the past, and it jumps forward in time really quickly until we get to this scene, and then it kind of slows down and moves forward in real time until we get to the scene from the future where we started. And then there's like 20 minutes left of the movie that's mostly just a camping trip. Chronologically, I think that this is the first scene where the main actor that plays Austin is playing Austin. So it feels like the first official scene of the story. And because of that, it gives us our first real look at the character dynamics at play here. And to the surprise of nobody, those dynamics are not great. They feel a bit condescending.
Hey, Ozman, are you sure that that's the right hat for your first day?
Don't be a goober, Daddy-o. Jester is the best one. It's the Mountain Dew Code Red of hats.
Oh, is it? I didn't know. Why is that?
Because it makes me happy and I feel good when I wear it. The colors, the way it moves and jiggles, it's just cool. And the best part is, the chicks dig it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
See ya.
I love you.
Bye.
Scott talks to Austin like I might talk to my niece's imaginary friend. It feels like he's doing his best to seem interested, but it's also pretty clear that he finds the whole conversation a little silly. And that would be fine, kids are silly, but he doesn't treat his other son that way in a way that feels a bit suspect. I shouldn't say sus. The second Austin leaves the car, Scott's whole demeanor changes. Suddenly it feels like he's talking to an actual person.
Bye. Hi, guys. Hey, Dad. He'll be fine.
All right, dude.
Bye. Love you.
And that's kind of how everyone treats Austin. It feels like every character in this movie is in on a joke that Austin doesn't get. Even the school bully seems like he's treating Austin with kid gloves. Like, he's not nice. He's certainly making fun of him, but it's not really that far off from the way that his dad talks to him.
You can pick whatever you want. A la carte flipping rocks. You can choose anything and everything. French fries.
Wow.
Like, there's vegetables over there, and it's great.
Enjoy.
Thank you, and you're welcome. Like, at my old school, there wasn't any a la carte, and you have no options. What you got is what you got, and sometimes it wasn't that good. But here we can choose. Everything okay, Oz? Logan, this is Tyler. He said we can be best friends. All I have to do is shut up.
Hey, man, that's my brother. He's autistic.
I'm autistic, true fact.
Oh, geez, one of those.
I think another issue I have with this movie is that I never fully understood the extent of Austin's symptoms. His autism doesn't feel consistent from scene to scene. I mentioned this in my last video, but it never feels like anyone involved in the making of this really tried to understand what makes Austin tick. The closest we ever get to the movie showing us how Austin actually feels, it just flat out says, like, yeah, I don't understand it either.
Go get him, Tiger.
Here's a true fact about me. Sometimes a happy moment feels sad, and sometimes a sad moment feels happy. I don't always know why. I don't always understand. That's just what it's like to be Austin.
It kind of seems like the character can do anything they want him to as long as it appears somewhere on the WebMD page for autism. And that leads to a lot of moments like this that seem a little inexplicable.
Come on, Austin.
Wait. See you in class, Tyler. We're best friends. Please, thank you. You're welcome. I love you.
In the movie's defense, they do kind of explain why Austin does that. There's a reason he's drawn to that little douchebag, but that reason almost makes how Austin is acting in this scene feel more inexplicable. I don't know, I'll talk about it later. Actually, no, I'll jump ahead and talk about it now. Basically, Austin picks up on the fact that the bully is having a hard time.
Logan, why did you hit Tyler?
He hit me. He's such a jerk. Why do you even want to be friends with him?
Because he's sad.
He's what?
He's sad. His dad's been in jail for a really, really long time, and his mother's sick, like really sick with cancer. And I heard that they don't even get to do Christmas. So I think he's sad. And it makes me sad.
That's pretty sad.
And like, I'd buy that, but then why does he not seem to realize that Tyler's clearly making fun of him? That seems way more obvious. There's something kind of magical about Austin sometimes. He has this great ability to perceive people's souls, but he's oblivious to the much more obvious things that are happening right in front of his eyes. There's something dehumanizing about it. The movie treats Ozman like he's this golden retriever who can sniff out sadness. It feels like his only goal in life is to make the humans around him happy. Although, for the record, I don't really buy Oz's explanation. Based on the way he talks about him after that first day of school, I think he kind of just likes Tyler for some reason.
Come on, you little hooligans, let's go. We're holding up traffic.
We're gonna make a chicken dinner. Well, I gave you a head start.
So, how was it?
It was good.
No, it was great. I made a new best friend. His name is Tyler. He's so cool.
It was fine.
Well, good.
God, Scott didn't even let him finish his sentence before he turned to the other one. Like, this is all bullshit, right? He does not respect Austin at all. In his defense, it is bullshit. Tyler is not Oz's friend. He's a little shit.
Tyler, what's up, my man? Did you get my Facebook messages? I see you didn't respond. I want to make sure you got them. Do you want to come to my house after school and watch Yu-Gi-Oh? Are we still friends?
Yeah, awesome. Best friends.
Cool.
Hey, Austin. You want answers? You want answers? I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth. Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Inclination to explain myself to a man who rises and sinks under the planks of the very freedom that I provide, and then questions the man in which I provide. I'd rather you just say thank you and run on your way. Otherwise, I say...
Hey guys, this is another one of those moments where I felt like we weren't getting the full story, because that seems to get him expelled. So I feel like in real life that probably wasn't an isolated incident. The school says that Oz is becoming a distraction to the other kids and recommends that he gets moved to a special class that can accommodate his needs better. And for some reason, his parents treat that like this is the worst thing that could possibly happen.
She called it a resource class. It's a class for kids with special needs. She said they think that it's time, that it's only going to get worse, and that it's not fair for him or the other kids. Apparently they have classrooms right on campus. She said they could enroll him right away. Like they're doing us some kind of favor.
Maybe we just need to change his meds again or something. What did you say?
I didn't know what to say. I agreed. I mean, honestly, it really didn't seem like we have much of a choice. Scott, I really feel like I just made the worst decision of my life.
No, T.
I'm not sure what the parents' holdup is here. They sure as shit already treat Oz like he can't function on the same level as the other kids his age, so it feels weird that they wouldn't want to get him schooling that would account for that. The longer I watch this, the more it feels like the parents' main issue with Austin being autistic is the fact that it's different. I think that autism could mean having brown eyes, and if that was stigmatized enough, they'd treat it like a horrible tragedy. It seems like their main concern is Austin not being treated like a normal kid. And I feel like that ship sailed the second they bought him the jester hat. And like, I get it. You don't want your kid to be different, but Oz is. Every kid is, and they should be treated in a way that suits their needs, not held to some standard you have in your head of who they should be. The way the parents talk about Ozman, it still kind of feels like they're holding out hope that they can cure his autism just by switching up his meds. And I say that because after this incident, they switch up his meds. It does not go well.
Austin?
I don't want those.
What? You love mashed potatoes.
Well, now I hate them. They're
Hey, we don't talk like that in this house, okay?
Young man.
You stop it, asshole!
Someone had to say it.
Hey, little dude, what is going on with you? Do you want to go to bed early?
No, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go anywhere.
Hey, what has gotten into you?
No, don't touch me. Don't come near me.
Oh,
Austin! Hey,
oh my God.
Are you okay? Let me see your hand.
I'm fine.
Hey, babe. Austin!
That certainly escalated quickly. And you know what? I've been there. I definitely got put on some meds when I was younger that affected my mood. Maybe not quite to this extent, but I did slam a lot of doors. And you know, would this maybe give some people in the audience the wrong impression of what it means to be autistic? Yes, but even still, I'm kind of glad they included this scene because it's the only time Austin isn't treated like this perfect little angel, so it gives the character more depth. Or at least it would have had they not done everything they could to pin this incident entirely on the medication.
The doctor said I was taking the wrong medication and I was under a lot of stress, which means it was actually the medication that showed Logan, not me. Stupid medication.
Based on what I know about this movie, I'm sure there's some horrible anti-vax reason they included that line, but my main issue with it is that it completely robs Oz of any agency. He didn't say, "I never felt like that before," or "I still don't know what came over me." He says he didn't do it, the meds did. And I don't think it works that way. When I went on Adderall as a kid, it made me scream at people for no reason, and I don't think I would have done that had I not been on them, but I still did it. Which is not to say that Austin is secretly a violent monster deep down, but I do think it does him a disservice to suggest that he doesn't have the same darkness in his soul that we all do. And really, that's where I want to close this video, so I'm going to speed run the rest of this plot summary to get there. Basically what happens is that after that, Oz gets committed until Christmas, and then he gets out and asks his dad to take him camping for his present. And they do that eventually. And it's fairly uneventful. Lawrence and the school bully get into a fight, which leads to that scene I showed you earlier of Oz explaining that Terry's having a hard time, and Lawrence is so touched by this that he gives him the skateboard he got for Christmas. Then together, the two of them start a petition to allow Oz to return to his class, and they get almost every kid in school to sign it. And apparently that works.
It's a petition signed by just about every student in school.
This is amazing. Wow.
We never should have separated him from his friends. And he's welcome back. Anytime.
Not sure this is how we should be deciding whether or not a child is placed in a special needs program, but the movie seems to think it's a good thing. While all this is going down, Scott is dealing with his alcoholism. He and Teresa break up and then get back together even though they shouldn't, and if you want to know more about that, then go watch my other video on this movie. Or don't, it got demonetized, so I don't really care. The movie ends with the family eating together in a diner where Austin starts screaming about how delicious his milkshake is. And I won't play you that scene because it seems to be what the movie studio that made this used to demonetize me last time. From Italy, apparently my use of Il Bambino di Cristal did not clear that country's fair use laws. What I will do is read you the dad's final monologue because I actually think it does sum up this movie pretty well. And I don't mean that as a compliment. I believe, Austin, that it really was the best milkshake ever, because to Austin, every milkshake can be the best milkshake, every day can be the best day, every moment the best moment. You just have to be able to see. Until that day, I spent most of my son's life trying to figure him out so I could fix him, but it turns out he wasn't broken at all. He didn't need me to fix him, I needed him to fix me. That's a true fact. And to really get the full effect of that, picture like a Christian stomp clap song playing in the background. Also, for those wondering, "That's a true fact" seems to be Austin's catchphrase. For some reason, they tried to give him a catchphrase. It didn't really take. But yeah, that speech feels like it's supposed to be a callback to this exchange that Scott and Teresa have before they get Austin diagnosed.
I feel like I'm failing every day, and the harder I try, the worse I do. I can't seem to figure him out.
Maybe you're not supposed to.
Which kind of feels like the ultimate message of the movie. Scott spends his time trying to figure out his son, and then he realizes that he doesn't need to figure him out. He just needs to appreciate him for who he is. And like, I get what they're saying, but at the same time, he is your son. You should probably figure him out a little. The movie treats Austin like this unknowable being who functions outside of space and time, and it's like, he's a person. Which feels like a weird place for me to get to, because like I said, I'm pretty sure that this is a pro-life film. And if it is, then that's an argument that would usually be used against what I believe. In a very different way, but still. Although I guess I should probably address the fact that after my last video, a lot of people questioned my assertion that this was a pro-life film. And I get that. It's not very heavy on the messaging. The topic is never explicitly discussed. And as many people pointed out in the comments, there's no way of knowing if a child will be autistic before it's born. So if your goal is to argue against abortion, this would be a really weird way to go about that. Still, I feel pretty confident that I'm right about this one. Between the casting of noted pro-life advocate Deborah from Everybody Loves Raymond, and the fact that the producers of this movie also made October Baby, a film in which a woman finds out that she survived a failed abortion and then goes to confront her biological mother. There's enough anti-choice chromosomes in the Unbreakable Boy's DNA that it's hard for me to believe that there isn't at least a little bit of an agenda here. Also, sound off in the comments below if you want me to discuss October Baby. That sounds truly horrific, and I need to watch it immediately. Honestly, even if this was co-produced by Planned Parenthood and the guy from Sum 41's Mom's Doctor, I'd still say that there is something pro-life about it. It just has a vibe. People who are pro-life view the world in such a fundamentally different way from people who aren't that it's gonna seep through in any movie they make, even if it has nothing to do with abortion. And I'm sure the reverse is true. I bet it's very apparent to pro-life people when a movie is rooted in a pro-choice perspective. I'm sure to them, most of pop culture looks like this movie did to me. That's probably why so many of them get radicalized. If I were surrounded by a world full of unbreakable boys, I'd go crazy too. This isn't really an issue we're ever going to find common ground on. The problem isn't that we're drawing different conclusions, it's that we're starting from very different places. And I think at least one of those places is pretty clear. Those in the pro-life camp believe that a fetus is a person, and abortion is tantamount to baby murder. But yeah, I get why they're passionate about that. And if you had asked me a few videos ago, I probably would have said that the other side's perspective is pretty simple too. It's just the opposite. My thoughts have always kind of been just that a fetus is not a human, it's a collection of cells, so I don't really care what you do to it. And I still ultimately do believe that that's the case, but when I said that in a previous video, it got a mixed reception, let's say. Many commenters rightfully pointed out that that was a bad way to frame it because more than anything, it's a matter of bodily autonomy. Just as you can't force someone to give up their kidney to save someone's life, you can't force them to give up their womb for 9 months. And when I say it like that, I definitely agree, but it does mean that this issue isn't as simple as I thought it was. Which makes sense given that it's abortion. It begs the question, what perspectives are we starting from here? If the thing that separates us isn't necessarily how we view the fetus, then what is it? And weirdly, I think watching The Unbreakable Boy countless times over the past month has given me my answer because, like I said, I think this movie's perspective is the pro-life perspective. And I am now intimately familiar with what this movie's perspective is. So then the question becomes, how do they view people? And I don't really think I can answer that because I think it's probably different from person to person. But I do think that they all have a certain view of what people are. Or what they should be. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me try to explain. Let's go back to that scene where Austin gets placed out of special needs classes because the other kids signed a petition, because, well, they probably should have spent more time on that to begin with. That was a truly unhinged thing that happened in this movie. When they're first called in, Scott and Teresa thinks Austin is being officially kicked out of school, so Scott gives an impassioned speech in defense of his son. Well, defense is a strong word. You'll see.
Look, we know he's different, Eileen, okay? We're not delusional. It's just that the thing that makes Austin different is what makes Austin Austin. And that's what we love about him. And so we refuse to hide that away or apologize for it in any way, which means we're gonna have to just put him in another school. I think that's just, you know, he does better when he's around kids of all kinds, you know? Typical kids, as you would call them. But to him, they're just kids. They're his friends. And he learns from them, and that's important. And I think they learn from him, too.
I agree. And you're right about the other kids, because they're all loving.
Again, I really don't think that should be a factor in whether or not he gets a more specialized education. What do I know? I'm not a parent. One of the harder parts of discussing this movie is the fact that it often feels like it's saying what I think it should, but in a way that doesn't fully feel right. I agree that we shouldn't be hiding Austin away, but would we be? Presumably there are going to be other kids there. I get that Austin's special, he wears hats and is always smiling and farts rainbows, but why does he need to be around typical kids in order to be seen? And more importantly, why are the kids in the special classes not worthy of basking in his glow? This movie isn't uplifting Austin with this speech. It's putting down all other special needs kids by kind of implying that Austin is the only good one worthy of existing in polite society. And I kind of think it's been doing that for a while now. Scott's journey with Austin is that he goes from not understanding him to viewing him as this perfect being who everyone should learn to emulate, without ever really making any stops in between. I don't know if there's a version of the Madonna horror complex for people on the spectrum, but if there is, Scott definitely has one. Watching it this time around, the thing that struck me about this movie is just how baffled Scott was by his son. He has so much trouble trying to understand him that the great conclusion he comes to by the end is that he should just give up even trying to. And it's like, it's not really that complicated. Or maybe it is, but it's no more complicated with Austin than it is with any other person on Earth. And I think that's what I mean when I say that pro-lifers have a certain view of what people are. It seems like they have a lot of trouble finding space in their world for the people who don't already fit. One of the things that I have trouble wrapping my head around is how there's so much overlap between the parents saying every unborn child needs to be protected and those who kick their kid to the curb the second they come out as gay. And when I look at things like this, it makes a lot more sense. Fetuses are still just ideas. They can be whatever you want them to be, and that makes it a lot easier to find space for them in your worldview than something that's big and fully formed. And I can feel the movie doing its best to make us view Austin that way too. It's a lot easier to find space for an idea than a person, so they kind of dehumanize him. One of the biggest difficulties I had talking about this movie is talking about its point of view, because at various times I said it was from Austin's and Scott's. And I think that's because it's kind of from both at the same time. Technically it's from Austin's, he's the one telling the story, but it feels so clear to me that the Austin talking is the one that only exists in Scott's head, that part of me thinks Scott should have just cut out the middleman and tell it himself. It feels sometimes like he's writing fan fiction about his kid. He's creating the story of Austin that works best with his headcanon because I think the actual story is a little too complicated for him to grasp. I guess I don't know for sure, but it feels like the version of Austin we're seeing here has been oversimplified a little bit. It feels like his dad has boiled him down to autism. By the end of this movie, the words Austin and autism are basically interchangeable. And like I said earlier, this movie treats autism like this nebulous idea. It's whatever they want it to be. And since Austin is autism, that means that he can be whatever they want him to be too. It doesn't seem like he knew how to make space for just like a normal autistic son. It seems like he had to mold him into this perfect little mystery of a lesson because that was the only way he knew how to make him fit. And that really sucks because that's not how people work. We're not built from molds. We're way more chaotic than that. We form from the outside in, not the other way around. I said before that I didn't think of a fetus as a person. I thought of it as a collection of cells, and I think I need to take that back because I'm pretty sure I think of a person as a collection of cells too. We start as one and then split into two and then four and so on until eventually we become this big, incomprehensible mess called a person. And it can be easy to forget that sometimes. The weird thing those cells formed into can feel so intentional that we lose track of the path we took to get there and start to wonder if maybe there was some bigger plan at play. And maybe there was. Or maybe this is just what mitosis is shaped like. Either way, though, it doesn't change what we are. We're extremely complex, but not really all that complicated. This movie spent a lot of time talking about how it couldn't understand Austin, but he's no more or less difficult to understand than anyone else in the world. We're all just cells. You break it all down, the only difference between you and me and Austin and Scott is what form those cells take. And that's a true fact. I wasn't sure how to end this, so I just stole Austin's catchphrase. But yeah, that's my video. Please like and subscribe and share. I threw my needles on a mirror. Thankfully, it did not crack. Also, if you have some money to spare and would like to support the channel, you could consider super thanksing me or subscribing to my Patreon or becoming a member. And I do have some super thanks and super thanks back, but I'm running late, so I'm going to do it next time. I appreciate you, though. You know who you are. Also, if you don't have any money or you just don't want to give me any, I understand. But if you do want to support the channel, then I think a really good way to do it, apparently, is by liking. I know I say that all every time, but like, I'm going to be really direct about it this time. I feel like my last video did really well, and I kind of get the sense that's because I asked people specifically to like. So if this video gets 6,000 likes, I will do a little dance. So the ball's in your court. But yeah, that's my video. Goodbye. Hello, it's time to pose for a thumbnail. Hello, it's time to pose for a thumbnail while my patrons' names scroll. And I feel like I should just be tired. Like, ugh, again? Why am I still talking about this? I have seen this movie more than movies I like. I was thinking about that. Like, I I feel like I want to do a movie. I might do this. I've never talked about like a movie I like a well, that's not true. I talked about Ernest Scared Stupid. I've never like dissected a movie for being good. And I don't know why I wouldn't do that. Like, I have so much knowledge about an Unbreakable Boy or whatever the fuck it's called. Imagine if I had done that with like Lawrence of Arabia. Probably not that one. But no, I was thinking about it. Okay, I was watching a movie and I was like, I had to like find time to watch this movie. And I have watched Unbreakable Boy twice today. And this movie's good. I'm gonna make a video about that movie. Maybe in September. It's kind of spooky. Anyway, what was I doing? Why would I do it in September if it's spooky? What? Sometimes I forget, like, no, I'm just tired. I went to a friend's bachelor party this weekend in Milwaukee for some reason. He is not from Milwaukee. And then they canceled my flight the night before. So I ended up staying in Milwaukee for an extra night and then coming back on Monday. And now my whole week has been thrown off. And let's be honest, I was already barely functional as it was. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to it, but I don't think this video is gonna make sense. But hopefully it's about the journey and not the destination. I don't know, you guys seem to understand me more than you should. I don't make sense. I think the long pauses and unfinished sentences that I'm doing right now are a sign that I should just call it. Maybe take a nap. One more. I'm trying to get one more good. Like, that'd be a good way to sleep, but I don't think it's a good thumbnail. I think I'm gonna have the dragon be the thing. So like confusion. Why is there a dragon? I'm so pale. Nobody really realizes how pale I am, I think. It's because I don't see the sun. Pretty sure I'm a shut-in. That is where I'll end it. Should I re-record this segment? No, whatever.